Hi, myself, I'm R.BHUSHAN. Welcome to ASG IAS. Today I'm going to share you the Hindu, Thursday, September 5th, 2019 editorial. Definitely I'm going to read very fast because of all of you demanded that you should read fast, and I will share this article. The point which will be very important, definitely I will repeat 3 to 5 times. Jurisprudence of the judicial rubber stamp. Jurisprudence of the judicial rubber stamp. Jurisprudence of the judicial rubber stamp. A close reading to U.A.P. tribunal order. So how fundamental principles of fair procedure are being given a miss. This article was written by Mr. Gautam Bhatia. Thank you, sir. Last month, amendments to the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act UAPA, Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. India's signature anti-terrorism legislation allowing the central government to designate individuals as terrorist cause of furor. Critics warn that vesting such sweeping powers in the hands of the political executive would prove to be a recipe for the abuse and for political and social persecution. In the response, it was argued that the UAPA provided for a system of checks and balances which would ensure that government abuse could be swiftly reviewed and rectified. What the UPA requires. To what extent is this argument well founded? A look at how the UAPA functions presently suggests that the defenders of the law are too optimistic in the faith in institutional correctives before the UA 2019 amendment. The UAPA could be used to be ban association, not individual. To this end, the UAPA required and still require that a ban must clearly set out grounds on which the government has arrived at its opinion, and it may have been contested for the banned association before a tribunal consisting of sitting high court judges. A number of the judgments have held the task of the UAPA tribunal is to carefully scrutinize the decision of the government, keeping in mind the fact that banning an organization or grouping infringes my dear student Dr. Roman Saini. Fringe. The crucial fundamental freedoms of speech and the association. A close reading of the UAPA Tribunal's order makes it clear how that the requirement of the judicial scrutiny is little more than the parchment barrier in allowing the government vast amounts of the leeway in proving its case. Tribunal depart from some of the most fundamental principles of the Fair Procedure Act as a more than judicial rubber stamp, and this is made starkly evident by a recent UAPA Tribunal order issued on August 23, 2019, confirming the government's ban on the Jamaat-e-Islami Jammu and Kashmir. Sealed covers and evidence. The government's ban on the JLK was based on the opinion that the association was supporting extremism and militancy, indulging in anti-national and subversive activities, and activities to disrupt the territorial integrity of the nation. In support of this opinion, the government said that there exists a large number of first information report FIR against the various members of the association, among the others the J&K, and responded that for almost all the FIR in question, the people accused that nothing to do with the association. This is what argued that could be proven by the looking in the association membership register, which had been issued by the government. Once one would think that such a case can be resolved straightforwardly had the government managed to prove that there existed a sufficient evidence of the wrongdoing against the members of JL and JEL and Jammu J&K that would justify banning the organization altogether. It is here. However, the things began to get murky because of the government then fell back on the increasingly convenient sealed over jurisprudence, submitting material that it claimed to be was sensitive to be disclosed. Notably, the evidence was not disclosed even the association and its lawyers who were contesting the ban. Now, it would appear to have been the very basic principle of justice that if an association is to be banned for unlawful activities, then the material on the basis of which that may justified it put the association so that it was a chance to defend itself, to take a decision on the legality of the ban by looking at secret material that is withheld even from the association itself, exactly akin to condemning a man on earth. It's a kangaroo court style justice, which has no place in the modern democracy. However, this is exactly what the tribunal did. Justice Chandrasekhar observed that he held up in the seal the paper covers and carefully examined each and every document, and that it was convinced that there was a credible document. This today neither the association or nor the reading the tribunal opinion has any way of the knowing what the evidence was in a sense. Therefore, the fundamental freedom of speech and association have been violated on the basis of the secret evidence passed from the government to the tribunal. An association numbering at least 1,000 has been shut down from the 5 years, and all the members made putatively unlawful, potentially criminal without even being told why. Matters, however, did not end there. The testimony of a senior and the former officer barrier in the jail can about the association of opposed to distance itself from the unlawful activities, extremism and terrorism went unrebuted. More importantly, as the J&K argued, a look at the membership register would make it clear that this member held anything to do with the criminal activity. The problem, however, was that the membership register had been seized by the government, and consequently the JLK and J&K made a rather common sense argument. Let the government produce the membership register, and since it was its position, lions under the throne. The government, however, refused to do so. The state submitted even its piece of the evidence as a sealed cover, and this Justice Mr. Chandrasekhar's response to this was truly Orwellian. He observed that the respondent association was not led to an evidence of substantiate this evidence that their office barriers and members are not involved in any kind of activities alleged against them. In short, therefore, a tribunal wanted the association to prove that their members were not committing illegal activities, while the main source of the evidence that associations would rely upon to prove exactly what was in the hands of the government, and the association was not allowed to let it lie. If therefore we take a step back to look at the tribunal opinion, two aspects stand up that starkly If therefore we take a step back to look at the tribunal opinion, first 5-year ban on the association going to be very hard of the freedom of speech and association, potentially making all the person associated with it a criminal. It was upheld by the judicial forum on basis of the secret evidence that the association had neither the chance to see nor to rebut. And second, the most valuable piece of the evidence that the association had to defend itself was seized from it by the very government that had banned it. And not did the tribunal wink at this, but then used to be the absence of that piece of the evidence against the association that had been seized from, and in favor of the government that had seized it. Throughout its opinion, the tribunal made multiple references to how the UAP allows the dispatch from the strict rules of the evidence in order to serve larger goals, and this indeed is the problem. These departures have been made boundless and boundlessly manipulable to the extent that they have been swallowed up the most basic rules of the procedure, justice and fairness. What we effectively have now that thanks to the interpretations of the tribunal in this situation, on the one hand, every leeway is provided. The government loopholes have been created where none existed, and every procedure and evidentiary standard diluted, while on the other, association comprising Indian citizen are held to be impossible standard in order to disapprove the case against them. This is not the jurisprudence that respect to constitutional democracy or fundamental freedoms such as speech and association. Rather, it is a jurisprudence of the judicial rubber stamp, courts acting to legalize and enable government overreach rather than the protecting against the government. It is a situation where the words of the famous English judge The judiciary has gone from lions under the throne to mice squeaking under a chair, squeaking under a chair, squeaking under a chair, squeaking mice squeaking under the chair in a home office, with a consequence that the nation will one day bitterly regret. Mice squeaking, we squeaking. This is the opinion of Mr. Gautam Bhatia. This is not my opinion. Thank you.